Good evening. We have just concluded the 12th ASEM summit meeting. ASEM as a group is a group which was set up in 1996. It was conceived as a platform for discussions and dialogue between the countries in Europe and the countries in Asia. Today, it has 51 member states and it has 2 organizations. If you look at the ASEM countries, they constitute about 60% of the global population and 65% of the global GDP. So it is a very important forum, and it meets at the summit level once in 2 years. So this was the 12th ASEM summit. The Indian delegation, as you're aware, was led by Honorable Vice President at the summit. This summit was on the theme global responses to global challenges. So in the global challenges which the summit looked at and which they considered required the attention, foremost among them was terrorism. Terrorism, there was almost unanimous opinion. All countries across Europe and in Asia, they believed that it posed a major challenge to international peace and stability. There was, in his statement, Vice President had emphasized on terrorism. He had stated that terrorism and radicalization is posing a great threat. He had called for concerted action by the international community, including of the early signing of the United Nations Convention on Terrorism. And this position of India, which, as you're aware, India has been as one of the victims of terrorism, we have been asking for the conclusion of this convention, and we were glad that in the communique, which was the chairman's statement, which was issued at the conclusion, there is a mention and there is a call for early progress on the UNCCIT. So apart from terrorism, there was the consciousness that other forms of threats to financial stability are coming, and also the use of financial systems by terrorists. Vice President in his statement had mentioned that we have this group of economic offenders. Now, these economic offenders are those who misappropriate public funds, and they get safe havens. He called for greater international cooperation so that we can deny shelter to the economic offenders. This was an important point made by Vice President, and it went down very well with the international community. Apart from that, you looked at issues of connectivity, because the entire purpose of ASEM is to see how there can be different connectivities between Europe and Asia. And you were looking at connectivity from various points of view, from physical connectivity to digital connectivity to people-to-people connectivity. So we as India have always looked at connectivity as very important for shared prosperity and also for building bridges. India itself is involved in a number of projects on connectivity in our part of the world. We are looking at India-Myanmar trilateral highway. We have the international north-south transport corridor. But when we look at connectivity, there are a couple of issues which are important when we look at building that, and some of this is respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. This was emphasized by Vice President in his statement, and we said that any connectivity must bear in mind these aspects. The other challenge which was looked at the ASEM summit was climate change. And there was again that this is something on which all of us need to work together. Vice President in his statement also highlighted this. He referred to the International Solar Alliance, which is important in the sense that, firstly, from the ASEM perspective, it is a project which was undertaken. It is an initiative of a European country and an Indian country. And it is an initiative that has received international recognition and has been awarded the UN Champion Award. So he called on the ASEM countries to join this initiative. And second, this initiative is extremely important because you're looking at a renewable source of energy. So in climate change, we also emphasized, Vice President also emphasized, that as we look at the challenge of climate change, we must recognize the common but differentiated responsibility which is there, which is essential for forward movement on climate change. The other aspect on which we did refer to was the issue of having a open trading, multilateral rule-based trading system, and to reinforce the WTO. Because today you are looking at a world in which there is tendencies towards protectionism, and Vice President made a call for an open trading system, multilateral trading system. So this is on the ASEM summit, but his presence in ASEM summit, he also had an opportunity to engage with other leaders on the sidelines. He had bilateral meetings. He he had a first meeting with the King of Belgium, and in that meeting, the King of Belgium was warmly recalled his visit to India, which was last January. He emphasized this strong like for India and his personal commitment to building the relationship. So he also reaffirmed that he supports the India's candidature to the UN Security Council. Vice President thanked him for the whole support that Belgium has been given for the ASEAN summit. He then met the Prime Minister of Greece, and the Prime Minister of Greece again recalled the old ancient relations between India and Greece. He said that our ancient relationship provides the firm foundation for a future partnership, a partnership of the 21st century. He invited India to be an honor country at the International Trade Fair, which is going to be held next year. It's one of the biggest trade fairs that they have in Greece, and they wanted India to be an honored country, invitation which we have accepted, and this will take place in 2019. Apart from that, he also met a very important person of Indian origin. He is the Prime Minister of Portugal, and Prime Minister Costas has visited India. He has been given the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman, and he was there in 2017, and Prime Minister visited Portugal in 2017. Our relationship is going stronger, and we are looking at various fields in which we can cooperate, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is the innovation field, whether it's startups, and we also, Vice President also discussed with the Prime Minister the possibility of cooperation in space. So there is a growing relationship with many aspects. Then there was a very interesting event which took place in ASEM, which was a collaboration between India and Spain. There's a Kathakali dance performance. It is going to be held on the closing day of ASEM Summit, which is today. And it's going to be based on one of the main characters in Spain, Don Quixote. So it's going to be Kathakali with Don Quixote. And so I hope some of you get an opportunity to see that, so as to see the cultural links that exist between India and Europe. Because if you look at some of the aspects of the culture of Spain, particularly the dance flamenco, is very much like a Kathak. In this, I'm also mentioning because there was a meeting between Vice President and the Prime Minister of Spain. It was a very warm meeting. The Prime Minister of Spain has assumed office just in June this year. This was the first contact between the new Prime Minister of Spain and the Indian leadership with Vice President. And in this meeting, they discussed, of course, the relationship and how to make it stronger in various fields. And the Prime Minister of Spain said he was look forward to meeting our Prime Minister at the G20 summit. So this is the broad discussions and the broad meetings that we've had.